Hello gang, Gary here. We are getting ready to release Stone Cold Hockey here in a few days. And so this is the final version. My previous set of videos was during development and just kind of throwing some ideas out there to give people a feel for where this game was headed. But now we're there. So I wanted to do my own kind of walkthrough on what comes in the box and what this stuff is. So it's a typical letterhead, plain Jane letterhead box that if you bought any of the previous Stone Mountain Press games, then you're familiar with this. But I like the depth of it because you can put your card sets in here and keep quite a bit of stuff. All right, so big handful of dice. 2d20s, 2d10s, a couple d6s. One of the d6s is special in terms of it being numbered 1 to 3 twice. So we call that the d3. Set that there. Really nice instruction manual. I'm pretty proud of this. A lot of work went into this. And I think it does a really nice job of presenting the game, explaining things. There's a lot of these colored call-out boxes get into some they're not really call-out boxes. I guess they're like sidebars, really. But they get into certain aspects of the design decisions that went into the game, or it highlights some certain aspect of the game. But this is good stuff. The game's actually pretty simple, especially if you're a Dice United player. Then you'll be able to jump into this pretty quickly, I think. But it's mostly there for reference. As you flip through it, you can see there's lots of places where there's, well, I flipped to a page where there isn't any of this italicized text. All of these are examples. So there's pages and pages of examples in here when you get right down to it. But the print shop just knocked this out of the park when they produced that manual. Great job. Set that over there. Actually, try to keep it in frame a little bit. All right, this is the stamina track. So one thing that distinguishes this game from Dice United and from most other hockey games, as far as I'm aware, is the way that it handles physical and mental wear and tear during the course of the game. And so teams start typically with 10 at level 10 stamina, and then it gets worn down during the course of the game due to hits primarily. And you'll see how that starts to have an impact. There's over 20 results on these charts that refer back to stamina levels and where the teams are, sometimes relative to each other or sometimes against a static number, to then determine what kind of result they get, what kind of scoring chance, or whether they're able to defend. And that stuff is pretty neat, the way it all ties together, I think. So here's the two main charts. These are your action sequence, your action charts. So two types of actions. You've got your attack action, which is going to be resolved starting in column A, unless the defense is in effect, and then it shifts it to column D. But all of those 4 columns are the attack sequence stuff. And so, you'll start with column A, and if that result doesn't apply, then you'll look at column B. Maybe that applies, and then you get a chance, a different kind of chance to score. And then if that doesn't apply, then you can roll over to column C, and then that's where the lesser chances of scoring are, let's say. And if that doesn't apply, then you terminate at column C. There's nowhere to go from there except just end the sequence without a scoring chance. And then if defense is in effect, you'll look here, and then the defense has their impact or influence on the game. The other kind of action sequence is called a puck battle. So again, referring back to Dice United, you had the pitch battle results in Dice United, and here it's the puck battle, and this serves the same role. This is where your penalties come from, and some other events that involve, physicality, really, is what the puck battle chart is all about. There are a couple tables here, subtables, that will be activated off of the puck battle chart. I'll also point out that it is divided into columns for first, second, third period, and overtime. So the kinds of events that take place could vary depending on where you are in the game. Let's see, the agitator and enforcer tables here are triggered off of the puck battle chart. And when those come up, that means that there is a particular type of player. There are two types of players that are distinguished from others in this game, and those are your agitators and enforcers. And they have a certain kind of influence. They're both high penalty minute types of players, but despite that problem, if you will, despite that fact about their character, there's a reason why you want them on your team, and this table helps bring out that aspect of those players. All right, I like to set those up like that, at least for now. I keep changing my setup. Next, we've got the power play and empty net charts, and then some other setup charts down below. So when you get to a power play, you'll look at the power play and penalty kill rating of the two teams involved, and you'll see who's got the advantage. So if the penalty kill is, let's say, 3 points higher on their penalty kill rating than the attacking team is on their power play, then you would use the +3 or +4 column for the favoring the penalty kill. Vice versa, let's say the power play was 1 or 2 better than the PK, then you would use this +1 or 2 column for the power play's advantage. And all of this just lays out this array of results and distributions respective to what, who's got the advantage and how much. Empty net works the same way. It's got an even column in the middle, and then it's got a couple different columns of advantage on either side, and it uses the attack and defense ratings instead of the special teams ratings to accomplish the same thing, and it works basically the same way. The timing is different when you get to the empty net phase, and we'll talk about that some other time. Okay, when you're setting up a game, you'll be looking at the control and puck battle threshold tables, and well, we'll talk about that when the time comes. And then I also had a spot here where the injury effect table could take place. So injuries in this game are not specific. There's no need, or there is no desire in a highlight-oriented game such as this to say, okay, it's this player who's injured, and he's going to be off the ice for X number of games or whatever. I didn't want to do that. I fiddled with that early on in the design, and it just got too hairy, too much of a hassle. And so this is just a way of abstracting it. And then let's see. So yeah, those two, the two action charts are single-sided player-facing charts. This one here, however, you can flip it, and here's where you get your fight chart and your penalty details. I do like to use the penalty details sometimes. Just for narrative effect, especially the major penalties. You got to know what happened there, right? So the fight chart, it's got 3 columns. Typically, you'll use the normal column. Fight comes up, and you'll roll the dice, get a couple players off the team cards, and match those guys up. And so unless an enforcer is involved, then it's going to be 2 normal skaters. Even the agitators are considered normal guys for terms of the fighting chart. The enforcers are kind of set apart for this. So if you get 1 enforcer involved, then you'll use this column. If you get 2 enforcers facing off against each other, then you'll use that column. And it gives you this array of results. Every single type of fight, even a lame one, is going to have some sort of effect momentum-wise on the game. So I really enjoy that. It gives it a little bit more, I don't know, gravity or something. All right, I'll lay that there. What else? Timing aid and quick reference. All right, so this is, there's a very similar card that comes with Dice United. Does the same thing. This condenses down those rules that are a little harder to remember. So I still use this, in fact, because, having developed this game for the past year, I've got all these different variants and test versions of the rules in my head. And so I refer back to this for me to remind me of what was the final rule that we settled on. Very handy. If you're brand new to the game, then this is a handy piece on the flip side. And this is a flow chart that just kind of walks you through the logic and the steps, step by step, of how action sequences are resolved. All right. After 2 or 3 games, you probably won't be flipping this over much anymore. All right. Let's see. Fictional team stuff. All right. These charts are just basically a condensed, quick reference version of the appendix here in the instruction manual. So some of those charts, not some, all of these charts made their way onto this kind of card that you can use. If you're running a fictional league and you get to the off season, you want to see how the teams change, how the team ratings are impacted, then this gives you a way to do that. More on that some other time. That's a big topic. Those charts were used to randomly create a fictional 8-team league that will come with the core game. The reason we did this is because it gives folks an example of what those charts produce, and it's cost effective, and it keeps us from having to pull teams out of a historical set and, like splitting up a set that way. So, here you go. You order the core game. You get this league. It's ready to go, and you can play with it just to learn the game and to determine whether you want to go back and order more historical sets. It's a good cost-effective way to handle this, and it's clean. Subsequently, when I decided to go this route, I kind of went wild, let my imagination run with it. And so I wrote this little booklet that introduces the league, gives you some backstory of each of the teams. And it's a really nice jumping off point if you wanted to actually play with this. I'm going to play with it. And I think I'm already doing that. In fact, having a lot of fun with it. And it's kind of neat how some of the players and teams take on their own, persona as you get into a season. On cardstock, we got this league schedule. I thought when I ordered this, I thought they were just going to print it on a slip of paper for me, but they gave us cardstock, so that was kind of neat. Don't know if that'll always be the case if we do future sets of this. Set those on the side. Oh, I guess I should talk about team cards a little bit more. So let me see, what's a good one? Rockford's a good one. So the team cards, they look a lot like the Dice United cards, of course. Color header, player grid, team ratings across here, and goalies at the bottom. So you get your team ratings, home and away, control, which, control represents the team's overall ability to, create chances for themselves, control the action, dictate the action on the ice, which translates to winning, or vice versa. Winning translates to control ratings in this case. And then you have the team's ability to attack, score goals, ability to defend, reduce goal scoring, reduce scoring chances, I should say, for the other side, and then aggression. And aggression plays into, it's all sort of tied together in terms of aggression, agitators, enforcers, your penalty column, your fighting majors, and the effect that has, like, in creating puck battle results, as you will see. But yeah, that's the layout of the cards. So pretty neat stuff. And then lastly, we got our score sheet. The score sheet in Stone Cold is a big deal. In Dice United, I still, to this day, use like a spiral notebook and just kind of freehand it. But for Stone Cold, it's really nice to have this laid out for you. It's almost like a game board. So, you know, you've got your starting ratings here on the team card, but during the course of a game, you know, fights, other events, maybe on the attack chart, can have an effect and change some of the team ratings. So as that happens, there are extra spaces here to track those changes. You've got your control splits here, your puck battle threshold, which can also change. And then you've got all your timing. So every minute of the game is its own time slot, and potentially could be an attack sequence A, puck battle sequence B, or a power play type sequence with the double P. And what else? Okay, there's this conspicuous line here toward the end. Well, in Dice United, you've got crunch time that occurs. And that's a pretty neat, that's one of my favorite mechanics of that game. In Stone Cold, you've got the empty net sequence. So there's you get to this decision point at about the 2-minute mark where, you know, if you're trailing by a goal or two, then you can pull the goalie, get an extra attacker on the ice, and then use that empty net chart that we talked about earlier. And it's got its own way of doing things. For example, the timing is done in 20-second segments instead of 1-minute increments. And that helps just, you know, bring some a little more intensity, I think, to the end of the game. That's the idea, is to make it feel like the closing moments of a tight game. So, all right, there you have the stuff in the box. So, and that's my initial thoughts on it. In the upcoming videos, we'll do some demos, see what happens.